Hey guys, this is Ben, and I'd like to introduce you to a new element we've added to YDS called a Promise Button. Let me show it to you right here on the documentation site. So click on Promise Button, and you can actually interact with these right here on the doc site. Essentially, it's a button that waits for a process to complete, and then instantly shows a positive or negative response to that process, depending on how it went. Now, if you're familiar with Angular promises, this makes sense. Essentially, the button is attached to an Angular promise. When you click the button, it kicks off that activity. It completes asynchronously and then returns a response that we show on the button. So we have some code snippets right here. I'll grab these and drop them in an instance so we can see what it looks like. Let's drop the JavaScript right into an empty widget here. Then I'll grab the HTML and do the same. Let's look at this code briefly to see what's going on. So the client script is essentially just a function that returns a promise. In this case, it's a dummy function that runs a timeout for 1 second and then returns a response. This would, in most cases, be something more involved, generally like a REST call up to the ServiceNow instance to update a record, insert a record, something like that, that would then complete and return a response. HTML template is simply a button. This is just a standard Bootstrap button. You can style it with all the styles that you're accustomed to in Bootstrap buttons. However, we're adding this YDS button promise attribute and telling it which function returns that promise. And then we have a return to initial that is optional that tells us whether or not we want to return the button back to its initial state or keep it in that response state once we're done with it. So we'll go back and look at this rendered, and it's exactly like we saw before, right? Submit with success, submit with error. And there are tons of places you can use this anytime you have a process that a button kicks off that completes. A good example is our book a reservation widget that's also part of YDS. Here we're actually using a few components. Here's a date time picker component. We choose a day, we choose an available time, a reason for like an IT service desk appointment. Set up my new Mac. And then click submit, and it's going to go out and it's going to book that reservation. If there had been some sort of conflict, it would have returned back with the X. In this case, it's finished great, so we got a green check mark, we're good to go. So really, it's a small component, and it seems sort of mundane, but it adds a lot to a user experience. This instant gratification and the instant response right there in the UI gives a warm, fuzzy feeling. Makes your users feel good. It makes the interface feel very alive and very intuitive. So we're excited about this. We've been using it all over the place, and we hope you do the same. If you have any questions or suggestions, just come over to the doc site, click the Contact Us link up in the top right. Thanks a lot.